The 90s was known for making some classic crime movies. Films like Goodfellas, Casino, The Usual Suspects, and Seven are just a few of the great movies from this period. Now, in 1992, a great crime drama was released, Reservoir Dogs. The movie was praised by both audiences and critics and has gained a cult like following ever since. The movie, directed by Quentin Tarantino, follows a group of thieves robbing a diamond from a bank. Someone from the gang snitches, and the police show up a little too quick. Rather than have a clean heist, it turns into a bloodbath with several of the crew killed and one man seriously hurt. Most of the movie revolves around the rendezvous point, a warehouse, and the group trying to figure out who the rat is, whom they can trust, and what to do next. The film is masterfully executed by Tarantino, jumping around at different points in the story, so the viewer really gets a good sense of who everyone is. It's intense, dramatic when it needs to be, and also has the right amount of comedy in it. The movie really didn't get popular in the mainstream until after Tarantino made the hit Pulp Fiction in 1994, and I personally like Reservoir Dogs better than Pulp Fiction. That's just my opinion on these two movies. But there's a couple great scenes in this movie and dialogue I want to call out. One is definitely the opening scene. It shows the crew together talking at a restaurant. They all have names after colors except Joe, the organizer of the heist, and his son Eddie. Now, what's terrific about this scene is really the dialogue and the realism, for lack of a better term. This is how we would expect criminals to be talking and acting, not like a lot of movies the way they're presented. The movie doesn't hold back like we see a lot of films do today. Tarantino manages to write this extremely well and shoot it beautifully too. And it ends with a classic line from the movie where Steve Buscemi, Mr. Pink, refuses to tip and explains his reasoning around it. I wonder what he would actually think about tipping today the way it's gotten. Now, one other terrific scene is around when Mr. White, played by the fantastic Harvey Keitel, and Mr. Pink, again played by Steve Buscemi, first arrive at the warehouse. Mr. Pink believes they were set up as the police arrived almost immediately after they entered the bank. Mr. White doesn't dismiss the idea, but seems concerned for Mr. Orange, who was shot and bleeding to death. Now, as a viewer, we feel the stress and anger these two are going through, and there might be a rat among them, and they debate whether to stay and wait for the boss Joe. But just the acting and the dialogue here I thought was fantastic in this area. Now, during this time between Mr. White and Mr. Pink, one of the scenes I really like is when White reveals to Pink that he revealed his name to Orange as he was trying to comfort him. Pink questions him and White just screams back. And the conversation and acting between the two is outstanding in this scene and really just showed how bad things had gotten. Now, Michael Madsen plays Mr. Blonde in this movie. He was responsible for pretty much all the deaths, went insane in the jewelry store, and Tarantino wisely never shows us this scene, but he shows it really through conversations between White and Pink and the rest of the gang. And Madsen does well in his role and had one of the more memorable and gory scenes in the film when he tortures a police officer while dancing to the Steve Miller Band. Some of this stuff, it's just classic and you really can't just make it up. Now, often movies like this, I think, start strong and finish weak, but that's definitely not the case with Reservoir Dogs. It has a terrific ending, satisfying, and really not predictable. When Eddie, Mr. Pink, and Mr. White return, Blonde is dead, and he's been shot by Mr. Orange, who of course is the rat. Orange tries to convince them that Blonde was going to steal the diamonds and kill them, but it isn't adding up though. Blonde went to jail for Joe and has proved to be loyal. Eddie is friends with Blonde, and he begins yelling at White. Soon Joe arrives and knows Orange is the rat. He didn't bet him all the way. So White isn't convinced as he watched him get shot, and a shootout eventually ensues, and both Eddie and Joe are killed. White is hit too, and he falls on Orange. And with sirens closing in, Pink takes off with the diamonds and appears to get apprehended by the police, who are only, a few blocks away while this is happening. So Orange then confesses to White. In the very end, he was the rat, and a dying White is shocked. He contemplates killing him, but soon the cops burst in and shoot him. So the ending to the movie, it's both satisfying, it wraps up nicely, in addition to a fantastic acting, a compelling storyline, and just the right amount of humor. The movie was stylish and had a popular soundtrack, mostly of songs from the 70s. We surely, if you grew up and you're in your 40s or 50s, you probably saw people in college or in high school with posters of Reservoir Dogs, because it was definitely a very trendy, cool movie to have. And it's surely one to check out if you haven't seen it, if you're younger, or if you're older and you haven't seen it in a long time. It's definitely one that can be watched multiple times, and you'll really appreciate just the acting, the dialogue, and really how we would expect criminals to be is how they are in this movie. Anyhow, thanks for your time. Let me know any thoughts, comments you have on this film. Appreciate it.